I want to talk to y'all for a minute. Talk about a couple things that's been on my heart, and you know, with everything that's going on in America right now. But before I do, I want to pour a little toast, get a little libation going on for the ancestors, because when I talk to y'all, I want the ancestors to be here with me so they can lead me on through it, guide me, give me some of the wisdom. Every generation, every generation since we have been in this country, every generation, there's always been somebody trying to get the masses of black people to understand what is really going on so that we can help ourselves, so that we can put ourselves in a better position, so that we can stop depending on people who really could care less, so that we can put ourselves in an environment that is conducive for us, so that we can maximize our potential. Every generation, and there is no exception. Now, have you ever heard of the word paradox? It's one of my favorite words in the whole entire world. And just to give you the layman's terms of the meaning of paradox, I'll give you what I consider it to be. Let's say you have a problem, right? And then you have a whole bunch of people shooting out their take on the solutions to the problem. And then you have somebody way from over in right field shoot out this bizarre problem. And at first glance, you think that this solution is so far-fetched that there's no way that it could possibly be the solution to the problem that everybody is facing, correct? But then after further examination, you realize that the solution that seemed to be so far-fetched actually made the most sense considering the problem that everybody is facing. Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King, give him respect. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he had a dream for the black people in America. He had an idea of the best situation for America as a country, as a whole, right? He gained a lot of momentum. He got a lot of sponsors and all of this other kind of stuff. And he turned out to be one of the most iconic black leaders in the civil rights movement that black people have ever had, right? So much so to the point that you turn your back on Marcus Garvey, you turn your back on Malcolm X, and any other black leader that had a philosophy similar to those two people that I mentioned, because there were many, many others. You don't hear much about those guys. Because in our minds, through the propaganda that was pumped into the school systems and all of the educational institutions, they made it seem as if people like Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X were haters. And they hated everybody. When in reality, they were just as nonviolent as everybody else. They just told you that if somebody hit you, you hit them back. But this is the portion of the I Have a Dream and the Dr. Martin Luther King that you don't hear at the end of his career. Before his life was taken by the same people that he wanted us to integrate with, he made a quote, and I quote, I fear I have integrated my people into a burning house. The end quote. These are the words from the lips of Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, Malcolm X told you this entire time that you need to do for yourself. You need to build the black businesses. You need to support your brother. You need to support your sister. You need to help each other. Y'all need to gather your resources together and build from within. But you didn't want to hear that. And so the civil rights movement ended up being an opportunity for the European race of people that occupy America to take the black dollar and build their business up further. And so all of that money that was going into the black community is no longer there. And we can see this because every major city has a hood. And in those hoods, everybody has a business there but the black people that occupy the living spaces. Now, here's what you have. Here's what you have. You have a system in America that was never designed with black people in mind. But yet and still, we still try to play by the rules. We still try to understand the game as it is told to us. And we try to live within the boundaries that have been given to us. But yet and still, even with that, somehow we're still considered to be a threat. And you still have white cops killing unarmed black people. And it's the same scenario, the same story, year after year after year. And what's amazing to me is that despite how long black people have been singing this same song, you still have people that are shocked and surprised. Oh, does that really happen? I thank God. I thank the Almighty God for cell phones, which I know that a black person invented the camera phone, the smartphone, the flip phone, and all of those other phones. Because believe it or not, black people create the majority of inventions in America. So you have a situation now where we have proof. We have proof to back up the words that we've been saying for all of these years. Yes, we get pulled over for no reason. Yes, we get watched while we're in different stores trying to shop. Yes, we constantly have people watching us regardless of what we're doing. And now we have the proof to say that no, we were not just making this stuff up. It gets to a point where being right about something is no longer funny, is no longer enjoyable. You have black folks who've been saying, hey, you got to live your life this way. Hey, watch out for this. Hey, don't trust that. Hey, pay attention because you know the history in that. But yet and still, you still have these people that don't want to listen. And who should be at the forefront of all of this information that's supposed to be put out to black people? The elders. Where are they? Back in the day, we had the older generation that taught the younger generation how they should move. But now you got the older generation so caught up in making money and their retirement and all this other kind of stuff that there is no more leadership outside of Al Sharpton. And we already know his agenda is almost not even worth mentioning. And then you have people who are relatively young, like myself, who try to spread the same message that I get from the elders, from the ancestors. But everybody thinks that I am overly masculine, racist, biased, prejudiced. The list goes on. But yet and still, you still have black men unarmed getting shot. Black women, for no apparent reason, getting killed. Black kids getting mistreated. Black old people getting taken advantage of. Paradox. There is no question, there is no doubt that I love my people. That speaks for itself. Anybody who knows me knows that 100% of the time, I'm here to fight for my people. It ain't got nothing to do with being racist. Because I'm not a racist. I just don't have time to try to pick out the good white folks from the bad white folks. Who has time to do that? Who has time to tell if a snake is poisonous? I'll give you an example. Sometime before this whole coronavirus happened, my family and I, we went on a hike. And we went on one of those real hiking trails where you actually go into the woods. And I allow my kids to experience nature to the fullest extent. So I let them get a couple feet, couple yards ahead of me. But I'm always paying attention. And so it got to a point where we were walking up this hill and I saw a snake crossing the path that we were on. My daughter was about 10 or 15 feet ahead of me, maybe a couple yards. And she wasn't paying attention. So I yelled at her and I told her to stop. Why did I say stop? Because all I saw was a snake. Period. Do I have time to run up there, examine the snake, see if the snake is poisonous or not? Who has time for that? Who even wants to do that? You see a snake, you do one or two things. You either run away from it or you kill it. You don't have time to entertain the possibility of whether or not it may or may not be poisonous. This has nothing to do with me thinking that all white people are racist or all white people are bad. It ain't got nothing to do with that. But I tell you what it does have to do with, and anybody who has a military background can understand where I'm coming from. If you go onto a military installation and that place is not running the way that it's supposed to according to the codes of the military, who gets the blame? The person that's in charge, the person that's running that particular installation. Who is running America? Who is the majority of the people that's in Congress? The majority of the people that's in the Senate, the House, all of those things that make up our government. You can say whatever you want to say. You can believe whatever it is that you want to believe. But black people, y'all know, and everybody who's under my voice, who's watching this, who's paying attention, understand that if you have black children, you move differently than if you don't. You know the things that your parents taught you when you were growing up. You know the things that you were supposed to do, that you weren't supposed to do. And if you did them, you had to be very slick, very cunning. You know this. But everybody wants to pretend like this racism has disappeared and we live in some post-racial America. It's not. And until you begin to look at black folks as brother and sister and understand that we need to, hey, protect ourselves, then we're going to continue to face the same foolishness that we've been facing. You see, it's easy to think about Ahmaud Arbery as some random case because That's not your biological brother or sister. Same thing with Breonna Taylor. It's not your sister. So it's not until we begin to see those people as our brother and our sister that we will begin to move differently. I don't have no problem with the people that's tearing up these cities. Because despite what's going on, the only thing people see is the effect. Nobody pays attention to the cause. Everybody wants to blame the person that got punched. But nobody looks at who threw the punch. Black people been having white folks put their knee on our neck for centuries. And now that black folks finally begin to retaliate, now everybody want to make a big deal out of it. Does that make any sense? Once again, paradox. We retaliate to stuff that's been happening to us, that we've been crying about, that we've been singing about, that we've been praying about, that we've been marching about for centuries. And now you want to get mad because some stuff getting burnt up? Come on, man. That don't even make a lick of sense. And you got people who want to say, well, they tearing up their own neighborhoods. They tearing up their own businesses. Come on, let's do a fact check real quick. Black people only own roughly, barely 2% of America's wealth. 2% of the wealth of America. So that means if anybody's frequenting the hood, who own all the gas stations, the convenience stores, the weave shops, the liquor stores, the abortion clinics? Who owns all of that stuff? The list goes on. Name a store. There's very few black businesses. Most of the black people are so strapped for cash that they have taken their businesses online. So if there's any actual structure that's involved, 9 times out of 10, it don't belong to us. So, and then you have to look at the fact that these people are insured, or should be. They wouldn't be very good business people if they're not. So they're going to get a check. So now what? Now what you hollering about? Let's think about this thing. You got President Trump ready to send the National Guard to disperse all of this madness, talking about dishonoring the legacy of George Floyd, and yet and still has not said anything or addressed directly the people who were responsible for taking this man's life in broad daylight, who are supposed to be officers. That gives the official title a whole new meaning. So who do we respect? Who do we fear? And yet and still, despite all of this, how many white lives have been taken by black people in the aftermath of everything that has happened to us? Paradox. Got a lot of people who say negative things about me behind my back. I wish we could have a conversation about it, but you know, it is what it is. They think I'm this way, they think I'm that way. I'm for my people, so you can say whatever you want to say. If you look like me, come from where I come from, or if you don't come from where I come from, you just look like me. I'm with you. I'm with you. But this is the problem. You have brothers who want to marry outside their races. You have brothers who want to do what they want to do because they think that because they live in this society, we have the freedom to make whatever decision we want to do. And then you expect other people to accept it, regardless of the reality of the situation that we live in. I have black children and a black woman that I have to think about every day. I have to think about their safety. I have to think about their well-being. I have to think about their future. That's two different Americas. Because when I raise my children, there's a long list of things that I have to go over. But when white folks or people who have children that don't have that dark tint, when they teach their children, hey, make good grades in school, go to a good college, man, go to any bank, you probably get any loan you want. Or if not, you can go work for any company you want. It's two different realities. We know this. Look at the statistics. You look the statistics up. I don't even have to say them because I'm pretty sure you can guess what they are. I'm done ranting. I'm finished. Just know, hey, look, we in this together. Black folk, we're going to have to hold hands. We're going to have to go knock on our neighbor's door and say, hey, can I borrow a cup of sugar? And be like, hey, yeah, you got it, bro. Ain't no problem. We're going to have to get back to that. We're going to have to understand what true brotherly love means. We're going to have to understand what taking care of our sisters truly mean. And putting them on back into their original pedestal that they were on before this European concept knocked them off of it. And then we perpetuated it. No, you are a black queen. Understand that. And we're going to have to start treating our brothers with respect instead of having unnecessary animosity for no apparent reason. Always remember your ancestors. That's where your foundation comes from. From that, you begin to understand and know who your true self is. That will give you the pride to build your community. Stay black. I love y'all. Peace.